Yo, all right, so I was messing around with this in the other video, but then I just decided to re-record because yeah, I was literally just like fiddling with it for like 3 minutes, and that's boring. But yeah, see, if I take away the lantern, then it looks kind of creepy. If I do this, it looks a little bit less creepy, I think. I think it looks normal now, right? Because it's just the shadows aren't that intense. So yeah, I decided I will call these videos that I'm recording in my car fireside chats, because I got a little fire right here and we're chatting. This isn't real fire, by the way. It's just like LED. See here, I got it at Walmart. It was like 20 bucks, so adds a little ambiance when I'm recording. But yeah, so I'll hold this like this. It's gonna look kind of stupid, but that's kind of the best idea that I had. So yeah, where to begin? Oh yeah, so today's video is on consciousness and the three-body problem. I'll probably just name the video that. So yeah, not a whole lot there. It's not really based on, I haven't finished the series. If you haven't watched it on Netflix, I would highly recommend reading the book. I mean, just the book is incredible. I know people always say that, but it's really, it's fantastic. It's amazing. It's probably my favorite fiction book of all time now that I've read it. It's really, really good, and I'm not even really that into like science fiction, but now I am. It's just like, man, it is so good. But I'm not gonna spoil anything here, so you don't have to worry about that. The premise of the book, if you haven't, this is okay. Little spoiler, I guess, but not that much. It's based on this idea of the three-body problem, and it's a physics problem. I mean, obviously, it's based on that, but it's basically this unsolvable problem in physics, right? That's all I'll say about it. So I guess it's not a spoiler actually, but it's basically the premise kind of hinges on this unsolvable problem in physics, mathematics, where basically if you have a single body, like a single celestial body or object in space, you can determine how it's going to move in space, basically like exactly like to the T, because math and stuff and science. If you have two bodies moving in space, you can still calculate it pretty well, I think. I mean, I don't know anything about physics or math, so I'm not gonna act like I do, but maybe it's like a little bit harder, but I'm pretty sure it's like exactly the same difficulty to calculate like its movement patterns, right? Add in a third body, so like a third planet or moon or whatever, right? And the level of complexity reaches a point where you basically can't calculate the movement patterns like at all whatsoever. And again, I'll just leave it at that. I'm not going to go into the plot at all, and I really don't need to. I hadn't thought about this before today, but I think consciousness is the same way. So the idea with the three-body problem, but not the idea, but basically the reason that it's unsolvable is because when you add in that third factor, again, the level of complexity reaches a point where you can keep calculating and calculating and calculating endlessly. And it's like, sure, you know, maybe you can compute and calculate, but there's only a point to which you can... What am I trying to say? It's not that physics and science couldn't theoretically solve the three-body problem through mathematics and fundamental understanding of physics. It's that the reality of how complex that system is just so incredibly hard to actually create a model for, that it is essentially unsolvable. It's not that we couldn't solve it, but it's that we can't. It's just too complex, right? Even though we can reduce that system to its constituent parts, to, you know, the laws of physics that are at play, gravity, obviously, I don't know what else would be significant there, but to the mass of the celestial bodies, maybe their shape, I have no idea, right? But we can reduce it all to essentially matter and energy and whatever laws of physics, you know, govern that, right, from our understanding of science. And yet we can't solve this problem because it is just too fucking complex. We can't do it. And I think consciousness is the same way. It's not that we can't explain consciousness in terms of its constituent parts. And I'll say this as well, and this is going to be controversial for you know, people who I would nominally agree with in this whole debate. I think that even emergentism, the emergent perspective of science, could potentially one day be not solved, it could be explained through some sort of mathematical scientific model that would essentially kind of give you like, this is like the nature of consciousness, like boom, we solved it from like the scientific paradigm. I think that's actually maybe possible, and I don't like saying that. Like I don't know for sure, and there's no way to know that at this point in time, and there might never be, right? I don't like saying it. It makes me feel like I'm kind of taking the magic out of life itself when I say that, but yeah, I think it is possible, because at the end of the day, you know, all the stuff that we'll talk about on this show, spiritual traditions, religious traditions, religious ontologies, you know, cosmologies of shamanism and Buddhism and you know, early Christianity, all that stuff, it fascinates me to no end. And I think that there's meaning to be found in it. I don't think it's just interesting for the sake of, you know, oh, that's cool, like blah blah blah, whatever. I think there's substance there, and there's things that we can actually learn about reality from utilizing that knowledge in appropriate and skillful ways. I can't say exactly what that is, because, I mean, I don't know. I'm not that smart. But at the same time, I also think that everything in nature is fundamentally a natural process. Even things that we would regard as supernatural, right? I'm not saying that they're so full disclosure, let's use ghosts as an example. I don't think that ghosts necessarily exist. but they could. I guess I'll say here that I'm effectively agnostic. That's my, that's just kind of the fast way that I would define my personal metaphysics. I'm agnostic, right? God. Could God exist? Yeah, he could. Maybe he doesn't. I don't think that he does, at least in the monotheistic Judeo-Christian interpretation of God. And there's no way to know if there was, because, I mean, the thing that we're talking about as God is essentially outside the realm of what can be discerned through science. Now, whether or not you think that's interesting or care, that's up to you, right? But that's kind of where I am on all this. So, going back to the, what was it? Yeah, I think that everything is essentially natural phenomena, right? It's all something that science could say something about, I think. And could model probably in some way given enough time. I mean, think about it this way. 500 years ago, we thought that the earth was flat. If you still think it's flat, just, I don't know. Please watch some other videos to learn otherwise. Yeah, we've come a long way. And the point that I want to make there is that at the time, you would have been laughed at to suggest that the Earth was not the center of the universe and that we're actually a small planet orbiting a very large sun in a very large solar system, right? In a galaxy, in a universe filled with billions of other galaxies, right? People would have thought you're crazy. And that's because we had no way of knowing otherwise. Sorry, it's getting kind of dark. We had no tools, theoretical frameworks for proving that the Earth is not flat, and that the description that I just gave is in fact the correct cosmological position of the Earth in relation to the rest of the cosmos, right? We know that now because we have sufficient tools and technologies to understand the world and the universe in that way. And I believe that eventually we will develop tools and technologies quite different from what they are now. And again, I have no idea what that would look like, because life 500 years ago is crazy. Imagine life 500 years from now, right? So we can't just kind of isolate ourselves within this period of human history. I mean, sure, we can right now, but we should also think ahead to the future and kind of imagine what's possible. And I really do believe that eventually we will have sufficient tools to gain an understanding of what life, what consciousness is essentially from a scientific perspective. Because we definitely don't have all the answers now. And if you think that, if you really think that science and physics and the natural sciences have all the answers to say that this is exactly what life is, I just don't agree. Science, even if you take it from a purely scientific perspective and kind of leave out all these emergent philosophical, phenomenological, perspectives on the mind, there are still so many mysteries that have yet to be solved, even from a purely scientific standpoint. Even within the sciences, there isn't total consensus. So how can we say that science can explain all of it in and of itself? I just don't think that's possible. But in the future, I think it will be. And I think that's only possible if science acknowledges human experience in and of itself, on its own terms, and incorporates that into sufficient models of investigation to look at the mind and to actually account for experience in terms of experience. And I don't know what that looks like. I don't know what that looks like. I'm not that smart. I'm not that inventive. I have no idea what that will be like. But just as 500 years ago, we had no idea about what the actual structure of the universe was, I think 500 years of now, our understanding of the mind will be, man, who knows? But I think that science will have a lot to say about it. Even so, even with all of its, incredible prowess for creating models and theoretical frameworks for nature, for the cosmos, for life on Earth, for the planets, and for everything, even with all of that, I don't think that it will be able to say exactly what consciousness is. I don't think that it will be able to solve the problem of consciousness. Now, there's a few different problems in consciousness, and honestly, I forget what they were. I know there's like a soft problem of consciousness. Depends on who you ask and how you look at it. It's really cold. Give me a second. Sorry. Turn off the AC. There's like a hard problem of consciousness, and there's like a soft problem of consciousness. Sorry, I'm really cold. Yeah, I have the AC on, and I'm like in the mountains right now, so it's extra cold. Where was it? Something with the blah blah blah. Consciousness. All right, give me a minute. This is embarrassing. Consciousness. Blah blah blah. Emergentism. Science. Something. I'm gonna have to cut this out. Hopefully. Yeah, science. Okay. Yeah. I think it's exactly like the three-body problem. It's not that science couldn't potentially, with the tools that it has, come up with a model for consciousness, because it has a good grasp of all the things that consciousness needs to emerge, right? Physics, biology, chemistry, and then all the really specialized ones like neuroscience and all that stuff, biochemistry. And it's not that it couldn't explain or solve the problem of consciousness, if we want to talk about it that way. It's that it's so utterly complex. Consciousness is so utterly complex. The mind is so utterly complex that it's just not possible. In the same way that it's just not possible to completely calculate 3 celestial bodies within the same gravitational field as one another, to calculate their movements. It's just not possible. You'd think that it would be, because it's just 3 fucking planets. How can it be so goddamn difficult? But it's so complex. The system itself is so complex. Even though we have such a solid understanding of the the laws that govern them, of the laws that organize that system. But the system itself in reality is too complex for us to calculate every single process. Even, I mean, from my understanding, it shouldn't be that hard, but it is. And I think consciousness is the same way. One day we're going to have such a completely good grasp of all of the natural processes that go into consciousness, biology. I mean, you know, take Michio Kaku. I don't agree with a lot of the things that he says, but, you know, according to him, he says one day cancer will be a thing of the past. And I think that's true. Given enough time, yeah, it's inevitable that we'll understand epigenetics and microbiology and medicine well enough that we'll basically be able to like cure cancer forever, with enough time, right? Might not seem possible now, but imagine, yeah, if we imagine human existence outside of the confines of this day and age, we can imagine a world where that's possible, right? And I truly believe that. And again, to reiterate, I believe that from a purely scientific standpoint as well, kind of leaving aside all the ethical dimensions involved in that, because it's crucial. It's not nothing. You need an ethical dimension to understand human consciousness. I just don't. Yeah, I'll get into that later, but it's not that it's a good thing to incorporate into the model so that we can be good. I truly believe that we cannot understand the ontological nature of consciousness, of mind, of awareness itself without incorporating some sort of ethical dimension. And I don't know why. I don't even think I fully believe that. But I really want to. Anyway, I'll leave that for another video. But yeah, so the three-body problem, right? It shouldn't be that complex. We have an understanding, a very good understanding of all the constituent parts and processes that are involved in the you know, that would be involved in three celestial bodies orbiting each other, right? We have a very good understanding of those things to the point where we shouldn't have any issue with it. But it's too complex. And consciousness, I think, is the quintessence of the three-body problem. It's the ultimate three-body problem, because it's not just 3 factors, it's not just 4, it's not just 500, it's not just 5 trillion, it is an infinite number of factors that are at play when we talk about consciousness. For a single person, I mean, and I don't mean that hyperbolically. I mean that to be literally true. There are an infinite number of processes, and I also don't mean that there's so many processes that, you know, we just can't like get a hold of all of them, so it's basically infinite. No, I mean it is literally an infinite number of factors that play into consciousness on the one hand. And then, you know, let's take what I just said and, you know, kind of take the reductionist view, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with the reductionist view. Let's take the reductionist view and say, yeah, no, that there is a limited number of factors. It's 5 billion, it's 5 trillion, it's whatever. Maybe it's less than that, who knows. It would still be too complex for us to reasonably expect that we could solve it. If we can't even solve the three-body problem, how could we expect to solve the problem of consciousness? So here's where I'm going with all this. Where am I going with this? Yeah, okay, I actually didn't think I would get this far. Okay, yeah, all right. Well, I guess I'm kind of ending on a dumb note. If I had to say something, which I feel like I have to, otherwise it's just gonna sound really fucking stupid. I think I would say that it's enough. Whatever understanding you have of consciousness, as long as you're always trying to understand it more, and again, not just for the sake of understanding intellectually or like, oh, that's interesting or fascinating. Like, yeah, sure, curiosity is a wonderful, crucial. I mean, we wouldn't have gotten this far in the story of humanity if there weren't some incredibly curious people who are willing to follow their curiosity, you know, as far as we've come. But there needs to be an ethical dimension to it as well. It can't just be, oh, okay, cool, that's consciousness. All right, well, yeah, I'm just gonna, I'll see you at the meeting later and blah, blah, blah. And no, like we need to be doing this to improve humanity and the world. It can't just be knowledge for the sake of knowledge. It has to lead to something important. And no one's making us. It doesn't have to be that, because again, I don't believe in a God. I don't think there's anything that says we have to, but I think it's our obligation, because we are conscious, we are aware, and so it's our duty to improve the world and other people's lives and our own lives through an ever expanding, ever deepening understanding of consciousness, of the human mind. So, yeah. I'm not sure how well those two things connected, kind of like where I started and my conclusion. I think it's good enough. Whatever understanding you have of consciousness by the end of your life, whenever that day comes, and it's gonna come for all of us, I think it's good enough, as long as you really live your life to the fullest and give your best. Because, I mean, I don't know, I feel like that'll lead to something good. So, you don't have to know everything, and you can't know everything, so lucky you. That's already off the table. I guess the message here is it's impossible to solve. Not because we couldn't solve it, but just because it's too goddamn complex. And yeah, I'll let you make the rest of that, whatever you want. I talked a lot already, so yeah. Consciousness is the ultimate three-body problem. There you have it. All right, well, I'm tired. I want some sleep, some food, and yeah. Thanks for watching. Hopefully it was semi-coherent in the end. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time.